If you want it bad enough, you can win it. And you'll be proud of yourself for the rest of your life. And your children and grandchildren will be grateful.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was former President Clinton in Columbus, Georgia. Today, I want to bring in Democratic strategist James Carville. James, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining me. Democrats, as you know, and I want to know if you include yourself in this, are panicking. Are you about the state of the race?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to see President Clinton right where I was born. Fort Benning was right there at Columbus, Georgia. What I'm panicked about, Major, is there's stuff that is going on out there that people don't know. People don't know that former President Donald Trump has called for the military to arrest his political opponents. People don't know that. People don't know that he's holding a rally in Madison Square Garden that is apparently to mimic a rally that the Nazis held in Madison Square Garden on the 20th of February, 1939. So I think we got to do a better job of telling people what's at stake here because, you know, we run a horse race stories, and the horse race story is no good unless voters are fully informed about what's at stake in this election. And literally, when I say this, and I say it without hesitation, equivocation, or exaggeration, the very Constitution is at risk in this election, and people need to know that.
Who is most responsible, James, for driving that message harder than it's been driven to date?
Well, I don't want to assign responsibility to President Trump. Went on Maria Bartiromo's show yesterday morning and specifically said that he would use the military, and he said that Americans, apparently his political opponents, were a greater threat to the United States than Putin was or the Chinese were. And he's saying that in plain daylight, and then if he wins, he's going to say, I told you so. I told you I was going to do this, and you voted for me, so I'm going to proceed. And it's not an exaggeration to say that the Supreme Court has green-lighted this project of the military arresting American people who don't agree with Donald Trump, because he'll just say it's part of his official duty to come and arrest me or anybody else. And until people know that or are informed by it, I think that we should have making an informed decision here.
And it's up to the Harris campaign, at least in part, James, if I hear you correctly, to drive that message.
It's up to the Harris campaign to drive that message. It's up to surrogates to drive that message. It's up to journalists to drive that message. It's up to NGOs to drive that message. It's up to anybody that has any contact with the American people to fully inform them that their own Constitution, which was implemented, I think, in March of 1789, is in serious risk here. And it's much more important than a House race or trial heat or poll or why Democrats are not doing as well as they could with younger black males. Know what is at stake, know what he's telling you you're voting on, and then I think we can make the right choice.
There is a perception, James, and I will get to this, even though you said the larger stakes are more important than any metrics, but the metrics seem to be that for whatever reason, the Harris campaign is losing some altitude and airspeed. First, do you agree with that characterization, and do you have a description as to why it might be true?
Well, I think at best they're not gaining altitude, okay? They're either staying the same or doing slightly worse. And I think what's happened is that Trump has given people an explanation. It's not totally untrue, but I think Democrats need to be sharper in driving the message home. I think they can do that. You can accomplish a lot in 3 weeks. What I personally want to accomplish is telling people exactly what's at stake here. And you know, Major, they had a big story in the Wall Street Journal about how economic plans would drive inflation higher and drive the deficit higher than anything that Harris is proposing. And it makes total sense. There's nothing more destructive in economic history than tariffs are. And I don't think any of us are doing a good enough job of informing American people of what's at stake here. and how serious the stakes are in this election. And we got 3 weeks from tomorrow to do that. I mean, people are already voting today. So if you wanted to say that I am concerned about this election, I'll be glad to say it. I mean, I do think in the end that Harris will win, but I got a lot of work to do before I have any confidence in that prediction.
Those who are calm within the Democratic ranks that I speak to say all these things are true. There are reasons to be nervous. It was never going to be easy, but the ground game is good. The money is real. The message will get better, and this will work out. Do you consider that to be rational, or rational but maybe too overconfident?
Something in between. It's certainly rational. She does have more money. She objectively has a better ground game. I think these things are going to matter. But, you know, Major, there's only one way I've ever run in any campaign, and that's scared. And that may be true, and maybe the pollsters are overcompensating for the Trump vote. You hear that a lot. I don't know. In the past, they've maybe undercompensated. But it strikes me that we got to drive this message home. And we have not lost an election since Dobbs, and we should not lose this one. The conditions don't feel like we should lose this election. Not the issue terrain that we exist on, not the economic numbers that I see. It's an election we should win. Now, we're not winning it right now. That's clear. I don't know if we're losing it, but we're certainly not winning it right now. And we can certainly, you know, improve our position between now and the election. I really believe that. But we're not winning right now, that's for sure. But maybe neither is he either. Very
quickly, James, Donald Trump's vote total 2016, 46.1%. 2020, 46.8%. There are plenty of Democrats who I talk to who say his ceiling is 47.5%, maybe 48%. If Kamala Harris gets 49 or 49.5%, she wins. I mean, that's a reasonable interpretation. And I guess, Major, I'd come back and say, what is it that I myself can do to drive that 47.8 number down to 47.1? Okay. And all of the things that you saying are reasonable. They're things that I've heard, maybe some of the things that I've thought before. But, you know, there's still a lot of information to get out to voters before Election Day that I think can move those numbers somewhat. James Carville, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.